Good day everyone, here is the second group to present the Module 3 entitled Enfolding the Social Self. This is Emmanuel Agpasa and allow me to introduce the rest of the group.
Hi, I'm Chair Jane Gante.
Hi, I am Haishel May Ramos de Repas.
I'm Steven Ducosin.
I'm Harold Pentes Barcena.
And once again, we are the Group 2. This module focuses on the social aspects of the self. Particularly, we are going to discuss 3 sections: the social self, the socio-digital self, and the material or economic self. The first section introduces us to the different factors, particularly the social and environmental factors that shape oneself. The second one focuses on the crucial role of the internet in forming the self and identity of millennial learners. And the third section discusses on how people maintain extensions of themselves through material possessions and maintenance of particular lifestyles. To start with, let's first define the concept of social self. So, what is social self? According to Hurst and Melissa, it is based on perspective that the self emerges from social interactions, such as observing and interacting with others, responding to others' opinion about oneself, internalizing external opinions and internal feelings about oneself. Thus, we can say that the social self is the aspect of oneself influenced by social groups or social institutions. The self and its agencies. Human development is largely influenced by membership in crucial social groups that shape various aspects of the self, from belief system, a religion, values orientation, the principles of right and wrong, and behaviors or manners, the way we act and perceive things. These are all influenced by the social group we are part of. These are the following social groups. Family. This is the most pervading influential social group that impacts the self in its entire course of development. We develop our sense of self from the environment we grow up, the way we and our members of the family relate to one another and operate together as a social group can shape our values, our habits and behaviors, how we perceive things, our cultural identity, socialization, and our values as a person. Second, schools and general academic environment. This is also an agent of socialization. Knowledge and social skills gained from mentors, relatives, and peers contribute to how social self is harnessed. Our global views expand as we get exposed to more people in different social learning environments. Third, community. Religion, politics, media, education, and the government are all social institutions that affect the social self. Cultural beliefs, values, and practices which are embedded in one's social self are all products of communal setting of an individual. Now, what is culture? According to Edward Taylor, culture is the complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, law, art, moral customs, and other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. Based on that definition, we can conclude that culture has a great impact on human being. However, it is highly relative. It varies in terms of geographical, traditional, and individual context. Moving forward, let's start it with a question: how is a child's development affected by their social relationship? Bioecological systems theory provides an approach to answering this question. According to Brinfenbiner, who formulated this theory, a person's development is affected by everything in their surrounding environment. He divided a person's systems or environment into 5 different levels, namely microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, macrosystem, and the last one is chronosystem. So we start in the middle. It shows the individual. What surrounds the individual are the different systems or environments he is a part of. And the further you get away from the person, the more complex the interactions are in the system, and the influence becomes less and less direct. Let's begin with the first system, which is the microsystem. This refers to the institutions or social group an individual has direct contact or interaction with. It could be the picture in the top left, a person with a bunch of friends. It can be the picture in the right, which is a family. Or it can even be the picture in the bottom left, the people you go to school with. Where you have regular interaction, that's a microsystem. The second level is the mesosystem. This refers to the interactions between two microsystems affecting the individual. Practical examples of this would be parent-teacher association, family and church, parent and peer connections, among others. Let's say, for example, when parents support the friendship of David, a 7-year-old boy, the parents know his friends personally and allow the friendship, then it would have a positive impact on David's development. However, if the parents are too strict that it interferes David's friendship, they do not allow David to be friends with others, then this would have a negative impact to David's development. The third level is the exosystem. This includes elements of the microsystem which do not affect the individual directly but indirectly. Pragmatic example of this would be parents who were working in ABS-CBN and who lost their job when the franchise renewal was rejected. These have affected as well the rest of their family, such as their partner or their children, even though that was not directly experienced by these individuals who were being affected. In this way, the experiences of one family member can have an indirect impact on the experiences of the other family members. The next level is the macro system. This encompasses the larger cultural context in which the individual resides in. A cultural context may include the country's socioeconomic status, issue of ethnicity, social values embraced by society, cultural beliefs and practices. This can have positive or negative impact to a person's development. Consider the different effects of the development of a child growing in the third world economy versus that of the United States. Another example is that a child who lives in a war zone area would experience a different kind of development than a child who lives in the community where peace is present. In sum, a person's experiences are shaped by larger forces such as family, school, religion, and the culture. All of this occurs within the relevant historical context and time frame. This is what we call as chronosystem. Chronosystem is made up of environmental events, major life transitions, and historical events that occur throughout life. An example would be a child at the age of 6 was left by his parents and went to other countries to find a living, or the separation and remarriage of child's parents to other people when the child is already teenager. Notice the life transitions. This is chronosystem.
Another model that highlights the impact of culture to the self is the individualism collectivism model proposed by Hazel Rose Marx and Shinobu Kitayama in 1991. According to the model, individualism as an orientation focuses on one's individual attributes and personal distinctiveness. People who are individualistic are observed to be competitive and self-reliant. They are likely to be independent in achieving their personal interests rather than becoming dependent on a group. On the other hand, the collectivist orientation values relationships and harmony. People who are collectivists prioritize interests to maintain healthy relationships. They are likely to be adaptive to other people and cooperative in group tasks. Let's say, for example, you are depending to what your family decides for you, like the career you take, the group you interact with, and etc. You like spending more time with other people to build camaraderie. However, if you like being independent and relies on yourself, you are confident to do things on your own without depending on other people, then you are an individualistic one. Notions of individualism and collectivism show how the self is directly influenced by the society and its standards. Being part of social groups impact one's thoughts and values and also affects one's social behavior. So, next is I versus me. One's behavior when he or she is alone differs from his or her behavior when he or she is with others. In being alone, one does not need to keep up appearances, which is different when there are others observing. According to Herbert Mead in 1934 in his theory of the social self, there are two parts of self. The I, which is known as the unsocialized self, and the me, which is known as the socialized self. First is the I. It refers to who an individual really is. It is one's opinion of himself or herself as a whole. For example, if you are alone, you can act naturally for your own motivations and not because of others. Next is the me. It is the awareness of how others expect one to behave. This is also known as the social self. According to Mead, this part is the careful and cautious. When you are with other people, you adjust your behavior to what you think is acceptable. Based on Mead's model, the actual self is achieved when the I and me become congruent. These different models present ideas on the process of the self-social development. Studying these models helps in understanding oneself and other people. It is not ideal, however, to generalize a certain culture based on these models. The Section 2 tackles the socio-digital self. This section examines the role of technology and the internet in shaping an individual's social self, emphasizing the use of social media platforms. This also highlights the crucial role of internet in forming the self and identity of millennial learners. So, to start with, there are a lot of answers we can provide as we are asked about what usually comes in our mind as we hear the word digital. With the use of technology and internet, people are now spending more time in the different social media platforms, shaping their socio-digital self. Social media is defined as the websites and applications that make it easier to create and share information, ideas, and interests. It has features that allow people to communicate with different groups through chat, video call, reposting of status, and photos. Examples of media apps are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Gmail, online shopping apps, and etc. Through the use of social media, people may act differently from their real self, since social interactions happen on the internet, especially now in the midst of these trying times. This is what we call online disembodiment. Based on different studies, individuals are prone to create digital identities which are different from their real selves. Digital identity refers to the identity a person claims in cyberspace. Like for example on Facebook, I have an account and my account name helps other people to search for me easily. The profile section provides them my personal information which serves as the digital identity I create. Digital identity is very important nowadays, especially to students for online class purposes. However, social media enables people to fake their identities, which make them likely to engage in behaviors that they don't do in real-life interactions. That is online disinhibition effect. There are two main categories that fall under online disinhibition effect: the benign disinhibition and toxic disinhibition. Benign disinhibition occurs when people tend to self-disclose more on the internet than they would in real life. A prominent example of personal ramifications of benign online disinhibition is self-disclosure, defined as revealing information to others, according to Leffler and Barak 2015. Self-disclosure is a two-edged sword. It can be as helpful as it can be damaging if not properly conducted. It can improve a person's awareness to different viewpoints, and it can decrease anxiety. However, it does not automatically lead to favorable impressions. There's a tendency that a person will not respond favorably to the information being disclosed. Next is toxic disinhibition. This happens when people use rude languages, bully or threaten others on online platforms, and go to websites with contents of violence, crime, and pornography. Examples of these are harsh criticisms, threats, and exploring places of pornography and violence. The next is managing responsible online behavior. Regulating online behavior is very important. Cyberbullying happens because of individuals who display irresponsible and inappropriate online behavior. The following are some suggestions to behave responsibly online. First is, do not post or send anything that will embarrass you. Of course, to avoid yourself from issues online, don't embarrass yourself in social media. Next, avoid posting statements when experiencing strong emotions because you might regret what you posted afterwards. Third and fourth, do not hang out with the wrong crowd online and offline. Refrain from engaging with people who will only pull you down or those who can influence you for worse. Then, be careful with oversharing, especially confidential information that may be used irresponsibly. And lastly, respect other people in the online community. Respect is earned, so respect others if you want to be respected. In conclusion, the digital world has provided us with greater opportunities to express our identity in any form we want to. But what we all need to remember is, how will we feel if we go so far to express ourselves differently online that we forget what reality is? That ends the discussion for Section 2, the socio-digital self.
Section 3 talks about what material economic self is. This section focuses on how people maintain extensions of themselves through material possession. This section also discusses how an individual acquires goods, the factors that can affect his or her economic decision, and what these things say about one's sense of self. To start with, let us first define what does material economic self is. Material possessions signify some aspects of one's sense of self and identity. One's sense of self and identity is influential on how an individual chooses to purchase his or her wants, and he or she makes economic decisions that will address his or her personal and social needs. So it says that the material economic self can determine through the person's material possession and how does he or she address it. A material self refers to intangible objects, people or places that carry the designation of mine or my. So, a material self is our extended self, which is composed of our possessions. So, there are two subclasses of material self, the bodily self and extracorporeal self. The bodily self is all about the body's possession, such as our hands and feet. On the other hand, extracorporeal self is our extended self. It includes other people, such as our family and friends, our pets, our properties, and other possessions. In the process of acquiring material goods, there are two things that the people consider, the utility and the significance. So what is utility? Utility is concerned with how things serve a practical purpose. It is the things that we need in a more practical way. For example, a plain sleeper for utility, while on the other hand, significance is concerned with the meaning assigned to the object. It is also concerned with how objects become powerful symbols or icons of habit and ritual, which can be quite separate from their primary function. So, significance is quite the more one type. Through significance, people express their status in the society, because for them, objects are not just things that they needed, but the things that they wanted that reflects the wider differences of lives. For example, the plain sleeper for utility, but its significance, people who are capable of buying chooses those branded sleepers, such as Havaianas. So the difference between utility and significance is how a thing serves as their level of usage. The possession of material things indicates one's status in the society, in which people can tell whether they are part of the wealthy community or not. People like to purchase goods and services according to their preferences. So the things that every individual have are their own possessions, and these possessions indicates how their lives works in the society. Thus, the personal choices of a person build one's material and economic self, which is an extension of his or her social identity.
So in this module, we have discussed the social aspects of the self. Particularly, we have tackled that social institutions and environments significantly contribute to one's identity and self-development. Along with that, we have also discussed that technology and the internet have significantly influenced their social environments and consequently their sense of self. We have also discussed the cultural, digital, and economic aspects of one's life and how they influence a person's social self. Now that ends our discussion for Module 3. Now let's have some activities. For Activity 1, entitled What System Is It?, you are going to identify as to what system the following illustrations show according to the bioecological theory of Bronfenbrenner. Now let's have Activity 2 entitled Is It True or False? You are going to identify whether the statement is true or false. For statement number 1, people can develop a digital identity. Is it true or false? Number 2, one's personality can be manifested through social media. Subsequently, material possessions reflect one's values. Number 4, needs and wants are the same. And for the last statement, worldviews expand as one gets exposed to more people in different social learning environments. Is it true or false? And the last activity would be a reflection. What have you realized about yourself upon hearing the different ideas in the socio-cultural perspective?